course, the author of Your Children's Ministry from Scratch and Your Children's Ministry Beyond Basics. I'm excited, guys. I just turned in my thesis for my doctorate, so prayers appreciated. We'll see. I have to defend my thesis still, so we'll see how all of that goes. All right, so a little review. Last week we talked about your book, how to get your book out there to the world, and the market is not saturated. We need books, and I'm talking more about my experience is with nonfiction how-to books in children's ministry, like how to write a budget, how to minister to families with special needs kids, things like that. I suppose some of this might also work with children's books and nonfiction or fiction books, I would assume. But I'm going to give you what I do know about it, and there's a lot of other people that would know a lot more than me, but this is just my experience. And last week we talked about the biggest thing is getting the book written. So you're going to need accountability to make sure that you stay on track and get it finished. You are definitely going to have to identify your target audience and identify what the need is that you are going to fill. You need to, what are you going to talk about? And we talked about the importance of an outline and following that outline, doing and baby steps, a little bit every day, a little bit every day. So we're going to assume now that you have finished the book or you are close to finishing the book. Now what? Now, unfortunately for me, I thought, yes, I finished the book. This is great. I've done it all. I've reached the pinnacle. No, that was maybe half of the work. Don't get too depressed. But writing the book was maybe half of the battle. And that's most people, I think they said 80% of people, 90% of people never make it past the writing stage. So if you made it past the writing stage, don't give up now. So to get it published, now you have to start the other side of that battle. The first thing you need to decide is, are you going to try to go traditional publishing route or self-publishing? Okay, so let me give you the ins and outs of that. Traditional publishing would be you would get the addresses and you would cold submit. That means you just send it to them to look at. Now, if it's a Christian company, there aren't a whole lot of publishers out there. I mean, I saw maybe a dozen in the United States, and some of them say we don't accept cold submissions. So they're just saying we will not accept it. So you need to find out which ones will and which ones won't. Usually that's online, and they'll say where to mail it. It is typically up to you to make the copies and mail it or email it if they will accept it in that format. And then they will say yes or no. And even in non-Christian publishing and Christian publishing, you have to prepare yourself. You have to steel yourself for the word no. You've probably heard, among non-Christians, I think it was J.K. Rowling heard no hundreds and hundreds of times before she heard yes. Many famous authors were told no over and over and over, even told they didn't know how to write, things like that, before they were finally told yes. So you have to be prepared to hear that no and not give up. And one says no, you send it to another and another and another and another. The second thing with traditional publishing, if they accept your book, then you may still have to pay half of the cost in some cases. They may pick up all of the cost. But in that case, they do own the rights to your book. They own the rights. In return, you'll probably get the use of their editor, their illustrator, their cover maker, their layout people, and some of their promotion, okay, where they're going to promote you in magazines and things like that. That's excellent. I had checked with my book, however, and it was going to make about, I don't know, between 7 to 12 cents per copy, because the rest would go to the company. That is, from what I understand, fairly typical. Now, if you're a John Grisham and you sell 42 million copies, well, that's going to add up. That's really going to, even 7 cents a book, it's going to add up very quickly. I'm not going to sell 42 million copies, I think, unless God does a miracle. But you have to understand up front, you're not going to be rich overnight, no matter what. So if you go through a traditional publisher, they own the rights. What is the problem with that? Well, the problem with that's going to come in because I speak at conferences and then I will sell my books. I could not do that if I'd gone through a traditional publisher because they own the rights to the books. I like that I can just order a bunch with my author discount, and I'll tell you about that in a minute, and then sell them at conferences that I speak at and make a whole lot more like $7 a book, because I did self-publish. That's full disclosure. I went with self-publishing. The other issue you want to think about if you go with a traditional publisher is that they're still going to want you to do most of the advertising. That was kind of a surprise to me. I thought they were going to do all of the advertising, and the way it was explained to me was, okay, we usually go off of that author's platform. You have to have a platform on social media, and so we're going to want you to push it through your platforms on social media, which is what I did anyway for self-publishing. I talked to someone that was an expert in getting books published, and what he told me is, he said, what's your blog? And I said, I don't have one. And he said, you do now. And I did not want to start one at the time, and he said, I don't care. You are going to have to get an Instagram account, Pinterest. You're going to have to build your Facebook account up by a lot. You are going to have to do LinkedIn, TikTok, whatever you can find, but your social media presence has got to be so much more than it is now, because you must use your own platforms to promote, and that's whether or not you go with a traditional publisher. So that's going to have to happen whether or not. So you will have to maybe have like a launch party for your book online, maybe a Facebook page for your book. You're going to have to really promote your own work, okay? The other thing that is a drawback from traditional publishing, and this is an unlikely event, but one of my good friends, they published through a Christian publishing company, which was a pretty well-known name. Some of you will know who I'm talking about. And then they surprisingly went bankrupt. The Christian publishing company did. And my poor friend, his book is now going to be in limbo, they said, for the next 7 years while it gets argued about in court. And he can't touch it because he does not own the rights anymore. So that's just something I want you to think about and use caution. If you want to go traditional publishing, that's fantastic, because that gives you everything, the editing, all that you need. And just know you're going to have to be prepared to hear no. You will not have the rights to the book anymore, and you will have to do your own promoting. You're going to have to really, really, really promote, but that's one way or another. I decided to self-publish because then I could keep my own rights. I had a little bit more creative control. I do it through, it used to be called CreateSpace. It's now KDP Publishing, and that's through Amazon. And I really have had good experience with that. I publish in, paperback. They also have hardcover, but you can also publish Kindle. I do a lot through Kindle as well. I like things like this. You have to understand, though, then you have to come up with an editor, an illustrator. You have to come up with a layout person, and I'm not good at any of those kinds of things. That's not my forte, and that did come out of pocket. That was out of pocket expense. So I just want to make sure that you're aware that you're going to have to pay for that. And just a ballpark figure, I use people I knew, illustrators I knew, and just for the front and back covers, it was, between $800 and $1,000, I think. And that was from a friend, but you need a graphic designer. And then the layout and the inside, oh my goodness, I didn't know how badly you need that, but you need someone that can make it look awesome on the inside, and you need an editor. And before you start arguing with me that you don't need an editor, I'm almost done with my doctorate, okay? Writing is what I do. I love it. You are not the best judge of your own work. We tend to have writer's blindness because you're thinking about what the thought you're trying to express, the emotion you're trying to express, and you will miss your own mistakes. Count on it. I would bet you money if I was a betting woman, because I swore, oh no, I'm usually very good at grammar, taught grammar before. Oh, this editor about made me cry, and I think I made her cry a whole bunch of times. We went back and forth constantly. I was not seeing it because I'm the author, and thank God for her. So you may have to hire someone. Some suggestions would be a local college near you. You can look for someone that you can hire to edit. Again, that's probably not going to be cheap. Maybe $800 to $1,000, maybe more. I don't know, but you need an editor. Somebody, if you have somebody really good in your life, but you don't want somebody nice that's just going to say everything you want to hear. You need somebody that's going to be clear cut and go fix this, 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 and this. They have to be able to tell it like it is and not protect your feelings. And you have to grow up and put your big girl boots on or your big boy boots on and understand it's not about your feelings. You want this to look good because it's a reflection on you. It's like showing your baby to the world and not wanting everybody to go, that's an ugly baby. You want this to be quality, and that means you have to have a good editor. So you got to hire an editor. You need to hire an illustrator, layout person, and that can be challenging. I looked in the church and local colleges for mine and got great results. If you ever get a chance, take a look inside any of my books. The first two especially, Matt Corfitz was my illustrator, and he just did an awesome job with the cartoons and the pictures inside because I wanted it to be fun. It's for children's pastors. So, and then you have to upload to Amazon, and you have to get all the layout to be perfect. And it can be frustrating if you're not a detail person. I'm not a detail person. It was frustrating, but I got through it, right? Okay, sorry you guys. Had to go let my dog out there. And then it ended up getting into something else, but I'm back. Clothes change. Okay, so we were talking about getting your book out there, that this was so very important, that it's a long process. I think what I want to stress the most is this is not a sprint, this is a marathon. I wanted this to be done. I finished writing the book. I wanted it to be over. You have to be in this for the long haul. It's going to take a lot longer than you thought. Think of it like construction. It's going to cost more, and it's going to take longer than what you think it's going to. This is a marathon, so you need to be in this for the long haul. I finished writing the one book in December, and we couldn't get it out till October. Talk about frustration. So it was that long getting the illustrations, getting the covers made, the editing done. The uploading was so frustrating. And then once you have all that done, it is not going to matter whether or not it is published through a traditional publisher or self-publishing. You are going to be expected to do part of the advertising. And I'm going to repeat that because I've heard this from traditional publishers in person. Just because they print in a magazine an ad for you or they pick it up does not mean they're going to do it all. You as the author don't get to sit back and go, well, I guess I'm good, I'm done. No, you do not get to sit back and do nothing. Whether it's traditional publishing or you publish it yourself, you are going to have to do a huge amount of marketing. If you are not a normal marketing salesperson, this can be intimidating. And I cannot stress this enough. You are going to have to build a platform. And I hear, well, I don't want to be on social media. I don't like social media. I don't want to. Well, that's too bad. The marketing consultant I met with said, that's nice. Do you ever want to sell a book? Yes. Then you are on social media now. I didn't want to have a blog. I didn't want to have to do social media. And I had no choice because I felt like I needed to get what I'd written, the resources out to the people that needed them, my market. And that meant I had to have a platform. What is a platform? Why is it so important? Well, your platform is kind of your brand. That's who you are. you're marketing it to the people that you wrote it for. So for me, it was children's pastors, children's leaders that were wanting to launch or relaunch a children's ministry. That was my number one market. Now, where am I going to get to that? Facebook groups. I had to go on Facebook groups, LinkedIn, Instagram, Pinterest. I had to start being very regular with a blog. And I would have had to do that whether I self-published or traditional publishing. If you traditional publish, they're going to want to know, what is your platform? How are you going to market this? Because they're going to try to market it to your target audience, which you should be a very big part of. So what I would say is, if you're writing that book right now, you need to be active in every group where your target audience is. Meaning, if you're writing a book on youth ministry, you better be on every youth ministry forum, very active, talking, and even talking up your book ahead of time. I would highly suggest a book launch online, like a Facebook Live book launch. As I said, Anne-Marie Gosnell is phenomenal at this. She does a really good job at it. Vanessa Myers, also wonderful with how she gets her books out there. I would say find the people that are doing it well. Find out what they're doing well, what they're not doing well. One of the things that was the best for me, it was my husband's idea. We did a Kickstarter to pay for the illustrator and the editor with my first book. That was free advertising. It was great. We raised enough money to pay for the editor and the illustrator, and it was all of my advertising, because then people knew the book was coming out. It was a really good thing. So you need a platform, you need to say it, and just because you say, I have a book, remember, with all the noise pollution people have these days, you're going to have to say it probably 8, 9, 10 times before it sticks in people's minds. Make it as easy as possible for them to access the resource you have. Tell them why it's useful to them, what they'll gain from your resource. That's extremely important. So start now, talking about your book, talking it up, being active on a platform. And I think the most important thing you can do then is be bold, be brave, and ask for endorsements from others in your field. I did this. I sent out 20 different kids pastors who didn't know me from Adam or Eve, and they were so nice. I thought I was going to get a "who are you?" and I think I had one no. I had 2 that didn't respond, and I got a whole bunch that wrote a really nice endorsement. Don't send them the whole book. They're never going to read through all that. They won't have time. Send them one chapter and just say, please, please, can you give me a blurb? Can you give me I ended up getting tons for the back of the book. And just so you know, the back of the book, your endorsements, that's what sells books. So be bold, ask. The worst they can say is no. Who are the experts in your field? Do they know you? Even if they don't, they might take a look at your work and decide to endorse it, which is what happened with me. I sent mine to Brian Dollar, Jim Weideman, anybody I could think of that was active in kids ministry that I admired. I ended up getting, the forwards that I needed for my books. I ended up getting the endorsements I needed. If I hadn't been bold enough to ask, again, we talk about having your big girl pants on, your big boy pants on. There's going to be editors that don't like parts of your book, and there's going to be people that don't like your book, and the more popular your book gets, the more mean people you're going to run into. You got to get past that and move on. Not everybody's going to love it. So be bold, be strong, ask. I hope these tips have helped. I hope that you can get your book out there soon. God bless. Like I said, the market's not saturated. We need more voices out there for Jesus and his kids. So if you've got a book screaming to come out, I hope this encourages you. Go for it. And I love you. I'll see you next week on the Peach Buzz. Good luck.